Welcome to Waking Up in Heartbreak. I know that what you're going through or have gone through is impossible. And yet, just trying to avoid it or move on or get over it just doesn't feel right. And it's probably not working anyway. Also, I know you. And you have this inkling to not skip over the hardest parts, that this heartbreak could remake you. You're in exactly the right place. I'm LiYana Silver, your host. I'm a relationship coach and author of Waking Up in the Dark Night of Divorce and Feminine Genius. We're going to go deep on how to make it through, not bypass, this ordeal, and how to emerge awake, alive, lit up, and fully, unapologetically yourself. So come close, catch your breath, right here in the rubble of all that's ending. Let's get started. Welcome to Waking Up in Heartbreak podcast. All right, today's episode, we're going to talk about what I said when she called me sobbing at 1 a.m. I'm your host, LiYana Silver, and here's what we're going to dive into in this episode. This is for anyone reckoning with a heartbreak or divorce so complex and intense. The best descriptor is a dark night of the soul. We're going to be talking about dissolution, which is the second phase of a dark night of heartbreak. And it is the phase of which there are 5. And I'll tell you more about how to find out about all 5 phases. This is the phase when things really fall apart. I call it the acute phase. It's really the most intense. So I want to go through how you know you're in it, what to do when you are, and what the medicine in this phase is. I also am going to share what now. These are practices, these are resources to be in action and take further whatever we dove into in the session, in the episode. And I'll let you know, because it's, as we are in the episode, you're in one nervous system state. And then we start talking about more practical, actionable things, resources, and you're going to shift into a different nervous system state. So that's coming. And the other thing I want to say is that this is tough terrain we're exploring. Alongside the hopeful, the inspiring, the magnificent. So there might be times when you get triggered or activated. Please take care of yourself. Please pause if you wish. You come back and I'll be right here. Hey, in we go. So what she said and what I said. Note a client. Really, honestly, in a dark night of heartbreak and in the face of dissolution. So I got this message from her. She left it at 1 a.m. I was not listening to it at 1 a.m. The message was soaked in despair, bottom of the well despair. Grief radiated from the phone. It was hot, it was dense, it was fathomless. And the circumstances were that she had just a few days before broken up with a longtime boyfriend, about a year. And it was a decision we've been working on in our session. And she came to it very mindfully, but that was still a heartbreak. And then on top of that grief, an old love that had been in and out of her life came back into her life. And maybe for a few days, it seemed like, oh my gosh, maybe there's going to be some chance of reconciliation, a chance to get back together. And that had all ended in a fiery and very final breakup. And he blocked my client's phone number and he was like, I will never talk to you ever, ever again. Which of course brought up even more grief, current grief, past grief. And for her, it brought up her father, who never really stayed for long. And every time he left would be this same sense of finality. This is it. I will never talk to you again. It brought up her own small, sad, scared self that just wanted to crawl into someone's lap and weep for 1,000 years. There's 2 breakups in the span of 2 days, plus past grief coming back up. And that is what brought her desperate to my voicemail, totally understandably. So, what in the world do you say to someone in this intense phase of heartbreak? 2 heartbreaks. In this profound moment of loss squared, loss doubled, and how to make sense of this devastation. And the past stuff, the devastation's kicked up. All right, so here is the shorter version of what I said. And then as we go through the episode, it's the longer version. My doubly heartbroken sister. There just aren't words for what you're going through. It is so hard, love. It is so hard. It's one of the hardest things ever. It makes sense you're feeling all of this. It is a rip to your heart. It's a double rip. Of course it feels impossible. Of course it feels like you can't get through this. Of course you feel panicked and you can't breathe. Of course it feels so dark and that you can't remember even the word light. Of course it feels like everything is burning and all is lost. Of course it does. And as lost as you feel, you are not lost. You're in a phase of the dark night of heartbreak. This phase has a name. Its name is dissolution. It is the hardest phase of heartbreak. It's the phase in which everything burns. And so, your main task now is to burn. Because this fire is holy fire, it is alchemical. The phase of dissolution burns it all down to ash, so that from that ash a phoenix is born in that archetypal wisdom. So be with the burning. Don't run from it, just stay. Feel what's here to feel. Stay with the sensation in your body and don't get swept up into the why of story. Let illusions dissolve, because what's true will emerge and it will remake you. But first, before the remaking, just dissolve. So maybe take a breath with me. Here we are. What is it that dissolves? What is dying in this phase and in our loss? What is it that's lost? The relationship, of course, we lost that. The connection, the companionship, maybe the sex, perhaps someone else making dinner or paying for the rent. These are all healthy and beautiful things, and they are real losses. But also what is dissolving, what is burning, are illusions. The fantasy of security, the dream of being together, the hope for lasting love, for being chosen, for knowing you're lovable through someone else's love, the identity of being partnered. What dissolves and what is supposed to dissolve in this ferocious phase is any protection from our old outworn beliefs that we thought were good and buried or that we healed already, and they come up again. I don't matter. I'm unlovable. I'm not enough. I'm too much. I'm insignificant. I'm the afterthought. You'll always choose her over me. Men always leave. I always disappoint. People always disappoint me. In the end, I'll be alone. But much of what dissolves in the dissolution phase didn't really exist. It was the dream of what should be. It was the could be, the should be, the maybe someday, the fantasy of rescue, of someone coming along who will stay for good, who won't leave, who will relieve us of our pain and prove beyond a doubt that we're worth staying for, we're worth sticking around for. Or maybe the hope of finally feeling loved. Even illusion and fantasy and unrequited hope hurt as they dissolve. In fact, they might even hurt more than the healthy parts of the relationship that we're losing. And so what I said to my client was, let it burn. And she did. She spent the next few days just being with the feeling, being with what she was feeling in her body. And she did begin to see that most of what that her heartbreak was about came from the dissolution of her illusions. Okay, you did. Sip of tea. And that is precisely what this phase is for. This phase of dissolution, as I mentioned, things really start to fall apart and burn. And not just our identity and our strategies, the ways we used to cope. It is a radical paring away. We are stripped of what covered our vulnerabilities, masked our motivations, provided a plan for our lives. Everything that used to work stops working. And this is hard, it is acute, but it is necessary in our remaking. Because we start to see how we've built a really fragile piece of our identity on what seems solid, what seems like a solid bed of earth, and then we realize, well, that's not solid at all. That is a moving, tumultuous sea of assumptions. And so our assumptions catch fire, they burn up, and they fall on the cosmic compost heap. So this phase, as I keep saying, is acute. It is shocking, perhaps feels torturous, but we have nowhere to run, really, or to hide. It's really not an easy process of letting go, like letting go, letting some soft diaphanous scarf fall from our shoulders. Can be a pretty ripping experience. All of our nerves exposed, grief waves pulling us under and we can't breathe, just scraped raw by the bottom of rock bottom that we're in. This phase can be so severe sometimes. You call up your coach at 1 a.m. sobbing, right? The sense of danger feels so visceral. The heartache is so overwhelming. Maybe the rage is so overpowering. And so the task is to let it burn and to keep breathing. We just keep breathing, stay with ourselves. We breathe in, we breathe out. And I want to speak to the medicine in the dissolution phase because each phase has some medicine for us. It is a mini initiation inside the larger initiatory arc that is a dark night of heartbreak. And it dissolves us so that later we can regrow. It dissolves what's not true or needed or right fitting anymore so that we can regrow into who we're becoming now. Good news is dissolution is a phase. It eventually gives way to another phase, and it might even be the next phase called excavation. This is maybe a little foreshadowing. Excavation, I name it as the third phase, even though these phases don't come in order, really. You can be in one or more at any given time, and they repeat. But the third phase is where we look into where did we get those outdated beliefs about ourselves, those outworn illusions. Where do we get them? Do we want to keep them? Do we want to remake those? The phase of excavation really helps us sift. What do we leave behind? What do we take forward with us? We really get to examine our relationship with ourselves and make sure it is not a repeat of the mean, punishing, contemptuous ones we learned from our family or we learned from culture, but rather one that is loving and tender and true, which does help us remake our relationship in love that is tender and loving and true. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, back to dissolution. Excavation will come in another episode, so stay tuned for that one. For right now, especially if you or someone you know is in dissolution, just don't even worry about that. Don't even worry about the hope or the light. It comes in a different phase, but it will come. In the meantime, it's important we just stay with what we're feeling in our body. We let it burn. We stay with our sensation. We keep breathing in and out. We don't rush to make a new plan because the mechanism that makes the plans is part of what is dissolving. That's the mechanism that kind of recreated or that created the situation that is burning. it co-created the heartbreak. We don't want to recreate from that same mechanism. We want to let that mechanism dissolve and build something else in its place. So we don't find the blessing yet. We don't find the silver lining yet. We don't rebuild our identity yet. That comes later. Later we regrow, but first we get all stripped. Later comes the brilliant clarity, but first becomes the disillusionment. Later the awakening, but right now the breaking. Later the flying free, but right now the falling apart. This is an important moment. It is the opportunity. How we approach the phase of dissolution gives us the opportunity for a ground floor rewrite of who we are. We are in a highly neuroplastic state in which our identities and our nervous systems are reshapeable. The clay of our identity, currently dissolving, right? Currently goo, is going to dry soon. So we only have a few months window where we need to dig in and do the work. So don't waste time. Dig in. Let it burn. Keep breathing. Stay with the pain, as crazy as that is to say. Feel what there is to feel. And I am going to show you how to do that, or to walk you through how to do that and how my client did that. Now, surprisingly, this is precious. In a way, our disorientation and our distress in dissolution becomes highly valuable because of the deep, radiant presence that it will bring us into, because of what it eventually helps us reconfigure. So, I mean, obviously my client was scared, like we all are, that she might not get out of that panic attack or that she might die from the feeling of heartbreak or grief. We all are. It is hard for all of us to feel our feelings because it feels like we might die if we do. And why this is, I think it's worth talking about. Why this is, sip of tea. Because our brains treat emotional threat and physical threat the same way. It feels like we could die. To our brain, getting hit, the imagination of getting hit with heartbreak, or imagining getting hit by a speeding train is kind of the same. They both feel lethal. But this instinctual response to run from pain and kind of numb from it or hide somewhere is inherently problematic. Because we run from one thing, we turn towards something else that is usually has toxic side effects. When something big comes up and we run, maybe we numb with a drink, or maybe we defend with an outburst, or maybe we placate somebody with a compliment. But the drink, the defense, the compliment, the appeasement is just a temporary solution, like a Band-Aid. But it really can lead us into some addictive patternings. It can estrange us from ourselves. It can be part of what deteriorates our relationships. So our running ultimately makes our suffering worse. You might have heard the phrase, what you resist persists. It's a shortening of a fuller phrase from psychologist Carl Jung. And the full quote is, what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. So not just what you resist persists, but your resistance grows it. And so here we are in a dark night of heartbreak, wishing to be anywhere else, needing to be anywhere else, impossible to stay with what we're feeling, and we cannot resist it. Because when we resist it, when we fight it, when we try to fix it, when we rage against it, deny it, when we ignore it, when we judge it or stay busy or play dead or placate, whatever we run from or fight against or freeze in the face of, we pin it in place. It only grows stronger. So what do we do instead of resist? Simply put, we feel it. We let it burn us. We meet it, we unclench, we surrender, we get present for whatever is present, we name it. We see it for what it is, not for what we wish it to be. And this is how we possibly make our way through the impossible phase of dissolution. We develop this uncanny kind of strength to feel whatever it is we do not wish to feel. I have a psychiatrist friend of mine that says, if you want to feel better, you've got to get better at feeling. So let's talk about how we get better at feeling. Not running from it, but staying and feeling what there is to feel, but definitely not dying as we do. So what now? So this is the moment where there might be a slight nervous system change for you. I'm going to talk about practices you can do. I'm going to talk about some resources to take this further. And talk to you specifically how my client did this feeling it in the phase of dissolution. Okay, first, some resources. First, another sip of tea. All right, so first resource is my newest book. It is out, available for pre-order. The title is Waking Up in the Dark Night of Divorce: The Radical Road Through Breaking, Awakening, and Self-Reclamation. It is a roadmap through, not around, the hardest parts of the ordeal, one of which is dissolution. It helps break the repeating patterns, to reclaim what you lost in the relationship or in the process of the breaking of the relationship, and ultimately rebuild a life and a relationship with yourself that is luminous with love. The ending of the relationship is the beginning of who you are becoming. More fully alive, more fully awake, more fully yourself. So when you pre-order the book, there are two beautiful bonuses waiting for you. The first is a workbook. All the practices that are in the book are in the workbook, with plenty of space to write, to add doodles, add drawings, etc. The second bonus is a book club over 3 weeks with me. I'll read from the book, we'll talk through, we'll do a practice or two together, we'll have some Q&A time. And that is at LiYanaSilver.com/waking up. And that will be in the show notes. I also want to offer a breakthrough session, especially if you're in the dissolution phase, in this highly shapeable neuroplastic state, where there are these precious few months to dig in and do the work. It's called Metamorphosis, and it is a session that is an intensive breakthrough session of 2 hours, and then a follow-up session of another 45 minutes. So using my breakthrough methodology, I've refined it over the last almost 25 years. We're going to find and transform that particular long-standing, hard-to-look-at pattern. Often it's the thing that comes up as we're going through the grief of heartbreak, possibly from the past, the additional compounded trauma or grief. We look at that, we transform that, that's been warping your sense of self or messing up your relationships. Clients often repeatedly tell me that more transforms in the single session than has in many months with other modalities. So I have 3 spaces. Let's dig in. The link for that is LiYanaSilver.com/breakthrough. And again, that is in the show notes. Okay, so let us also talk about the practice. Staying with yourself, feeling it, getting better at feeling. So this is what my client did. She stayed with herself. She reminded herself of something that I love to say, which is that feelings have a natural life cycle of about 90 seconds or 2 minutes. And if we can stay with them, if we can let them go through our bodies, we can let them burn through, they complete. Not forever. We're not never going to feel grief again, right? But for the moment. And when we resist it, they kind of go on repeat. They compound. That's often what causes despair. That's often what causes an anxiety or a panic attack. So she would take a few minutes, even a few seconds. She would unclench, take off her metaphoric armor that would help her resist from getting hit by the speeding train, and just let the fire of dissolution blow through her. And then she would double check, confirm, no, she did not die. In fact, it was the opposite. The more she stayed with sensation, instead of jumping to get away from it or solve it or fix it, the more that she just let it dissolve, the more present she felt. The less that she left herself in those hard moments, the more she stayed with the pain that she previously couldn't feel, the more alive and awake she felt. And this not only helped her feel less bad, which is great, but it also helped her feel better. This is how you do it. This is especially helpful in the dissolution phase. Now, you can do this at the moment you're feeling something intense, or you can think back to an emotion you were feeling recently or a bit in the past. First, direct your attention to what you're feeling. Does it have a name? Is it anger, grief, loneliness? And then you name it. You notice what it is and you name it. Okay, this is grief, or I am feeling grief, or maybe hello, grief. Then you stop searching for any logical reasons or plans to get away from it. That comes later in a different phase. Just stay with the feeling. Not why you're feeling it, just how it feels. Stay with the sensation. Don't get swept up in the story. And sensation is what you feel in your body. Does it feel, where do you feel it in your body? Take a scan, take a check. Do you feel it in your forehead? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel it in your knees? Do you feel it in your big toes? What would you name that sensation as? Is it tight? Is it cold? Is it dense? Is it expansive? Contractive? Sharp? Smooth? Fiery? Icy? So you name the sensations by saying aloud or silently what you're experiencing. If you want, on a scale of 1 to 10, you can notice how intensely are you feeling this? Is this a 3? Is this a 10? Is this an 11? So you don't have to change anything about what you're feeling. You're noticing it, you're naming it, you're describing it to yourself. You're letting it be, letting it run through you for a few seconds, maybe even a few minutes. Noticing, naming, staying. That's the whole point. Feel what's here to feel, and notice that you might feel a little less bad, which is good, and maybe even start to feel a little better. Let the feelings be, let them burn, let them dissolve. Even in the intensity of dissolution, I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you. Thank you for being here with me. Before we part ways, my newest book is now available for pre-order. Waking Up in the Dark Night of Divorce, the radical road through breaking, awakening, and self-reclamation is out October 20th, 2026, but you can order it now and get 2 beautiful book bonuses. The first is a workbook that takes all the practices from the book. It's designed beautifully. It gives you extra space to draw, write, and doodle as you wish. The second is a book club with me over 3 weeks where I'll read from the book, we'll do practices together, we'll discuss, do Q&A, etc. You can pre-order at LiYanaSilver.com/wakingup. Thank you for being here with me. This radical road is not the easy road, but it's the true road. It's the transformative road, and I am glad to be walking it with you. I'll see you in the next episode.